Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. It is a real pleasure to welcome you this evening to Palazzo Franchetti as part of the Venice Glass Week for this very special event titled Laura da Santillana, A Life and Legacy in Glass. This evening's event is taking place as part of the Venice Glass Week, which is an international festival dedicated to the art of glass, which is taking place as we speak around Venice and Murano until Sunday, the 12th of September. My name's Camilla Purdon, and I work as the coordinator of the festival. The festival is organized by a committee made of 5 institutions and organizations with a particular expertise in glass. That's the Istituto Veneto di Scienze, Lettere ed Arti, where we are today, and we're very grateful to have the chance to be using Palazzo Franchetti, the Fondazione Musei Civici, Le Stanze del Vetro, and the Fondazione Giorgio Cini, the Consorzio Promovetro Murano, and the Comune di Venezia. This year, as part of the festival, we're really happy to be presenting a series of conversations on glass, sponsored by Apice, which is a company with particular expertise renowned around the world for its transportation of art, but particularly expertise in transporting glass. And every day during the festival, we're presenting a special conversation online dedicated to a different topic relating to glass, involving high-profile speakers from around the world. We have the opportunity today, though, to be here in person as well, at Palazzo Franchetti, to talk about a particularly important person, the wonderful and much-missed Laura da Santillana, an artist whose art and work was admired and celebrated and collected around the world, but she was also a very special person who was respected and beloved, particularly here in Venice, where we are today, and I know particularly by many people who are in the room today. Before she died, Laura participated in the Venice Glass Week a couple of times, and she gave us the great privilege of being able to bring visitors to her studio, her beautiful studio on the Giudecca, which we were very fortunate to do. Sadly, her absence is greatly felt around the world, but particularly here in Venice, and she was without doubt one of the world's, but also particularly Venice's greatest artists, greatest glass artists, and the glass world is for sure much poorer without her. So it's a particular honor and a pleasure to be able to include her this evening in this special conversation as part of this year's festival through a discussion, not a conference, not a seminar, but just a conversation amongst friends and colleagues who worked with her and knew her, and we thank you all for that. Today's conversation is being moderated by Rainald Franz, who will be standing up here in just a moment. And we're really delighted and thankful to welcome Rainald here today. Rainald works at MAK, the Austrian Museum of Applied Arts and Contemporary Art, and he's been there since 1992 in various roles. Yes. He's been there since 1992, and in his role as curator, he was closely involved in the exhibition Essentiana, which took place from 2014 to 15, so knew Laura well, and Alessandro, of course, as well. So he's a perfect person to be moderating today. Reinold is also the curator of the Josef Hoffmann Museum and has curated various exhibitions, including The Glass of the Architects, Vienna 1900 to 1937, at Le Stanze del Vetro. So we are very thankful to have him here today. We will be streaming today live via YouTube as well, and we welcome visitors, audience members from around the world to post questions if they have any through YouTube, and at the end of the conversation there'll be a chance for Reinold to put those to the panel. We also welcome anyone in the audience today to ask questions as well. So if you do have any, we have a roving microphone and we'll be happy to pass that round at the end. But before I hand over to Reinold, I'd just like to introduce Alice Zanon on behalf of our sponsor, who's kindly facilitating today's conversation. And Alice will just say a few words. So thank you very much, Alice.
Thank you, Camilla. Very kind of you. For me, in particular, because I met Laura and Alessandro too, because we organized together the exhibition at Le Stanze del Vetro, and MAK too, and in the Yorkshire. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you, with her friends and collaborators, because she was really a wonderful person. So thank you everybody to be here. And after this COVID period, it's really wonderful to stay here all together and think to Laura. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's a pleasure and an honor for me to follow the invitation of the Venice Glass Week and Le Stanze del Vetro in special to moderate this evening's talk that we want to do in memory of Laura de Santillana. I hope that I am qualified to do this, but the panel that we have gathered here, I think, is much more qualified than me, and it's my honor to introduce my three conversation partners this evening. To my direct right is Rosa Barovier, a person I think you don't have to introduce in Venice when you speak about glass, because she was and is still the leading glass historian, and her exhibitions and catalog and her role as the leading person in the study days of Venetian glass have led us through many years and have helped us get a new knowledge and a new stage of the knowledge about glass, if I may say so. Rosa?
Thank you.
No, it's true. It's the feeling that we have about you. Next to her is Caterina Tognon, who's also, I think, with her glass gallery that she has opened in 1991, and I think it was the first glass gallery in Italy, has made an important step for modern glass in Venice, and I think also in the world, because nowadays she is representing some of the most important glass artists in the world, and makes a program that makes it always important to visit her gallery when you are in Venice. Also a strong supporter of the Glass Week since the initial period. So thank you for joining us this evening. And next to her is Elisabeth Greenblatt, who's one of the, I would, if I may say so, the strong, has been through the last decades of Laura's work, one of the strongest supporters of her work, personally as an art collector and as a personal friend to Laura. And Elisabeth, you have been the one who worked with Laura also on the last exhibition that she could realize before her much too early death. So we hopefully will talk about this later. Thank you for joining us for this conversation this evening. What we would like to do this evening is not to give you a scientific talk, but to really collect thoughts and observations that we all had in working with Laura. And I think it is important to memorize the important step that she took as a glass artist who, in a way, made her way through the experiences that she made as the granddaughter of the founder of Venini, Paolo Venini, who founded Venini in 1921, through design into the free glass art that she has established with her work internationally in this generation that took this important step. And Rosa, maybe I would like to ask you to comment a little bit on this, because we just talked about it when we started preparing this conversation. May I ask you? And I will show some pictures that we have put together. You will also see cuts from an interview that I did with Alessandro and Laura during the exhibition that we see already here, the Santillana exhibition that was staged by Le Stanze del Vetro. May I ask you, Rosa, to
Thank
maybe
you,
say a few words?
Rainald. First of all, I see many friends of Laura and also the main master who worked with her in Murano, Simone Cenedese. Ciao, Simone. I'm sure he remembers her very well, and they had a special link, a special feeling, because Laura was very happy to work with him. Simone Cenedese is there. Ciao. Because before working in other countries, his special master was Simone. So, ciao Simone, I am very happy to see you. Another thing I wanted to tell that it is not possible to remember Laura. This evening is dedicated to Laura. It is not possible to remember, not to remember also Alessandro. They have had a special link, a special, they had in partly, the same training in the Venini Glassworks. Then Laura went to New York, Alessandro had other experiences, but the very interesting thing is that they were brothers and friends, but both talented, but each of them were found a different way to express their creativity. So, I finish with Alessandro because I think there will be another occasion to remember Alessandro, but I can't think about Laura without her special friendship, collaboration with her beloved brother. I finish with Alessandro, but I remember him with a special, come si dice?
Sentimento speciale.
Feeling.
Sì.
Okay.
Thank you, Rosa.
And they, it is not strange, they exhibited their pieces together, but completely different works of art. Both in San Giorgio, but also in Vienna and so on.
So I think it's really the important achievement of Le Stanze del Vetro that they saw this quality and capacity of them both in staging this exhibition that we see pictures of here, this is the installation of the Santillana exhibition as we saw it in L'Estanza del Vetro on the Isola di San Giorgio. And luckily we had the chance, this exhibition was shown in 2014 in Venice, and I was in Venice, and thanks to the support also of David Landau, who's with us today, and Rosa Kahane, it was very soon clear that the museum where I'm working, the MAK, was very keen to take over this exhibition, because it was clear, this exhibition made clear the enormous potential that they both had in this phase of their career. And Laura said one word that I keep remembering. She said, "Io penso in vetro," and I think this is true for both of them. And this made these works so strong that they had realized for this exhibition on the really apex, I would say, of their works. And here you see what the installation was like in the MAK in Vienna that we did in November 2014. And we will speak a little bit about the different work groups in a minute, but I would also like to let Laura speak from times to times in our conversation, because we have this chance with this interview that we have included here in our presentation. Caterina, maybe I would like to ask you to comment a little bit on your relation with Laura, on how your work with Laura developed. Could you give us a little bit of an insight in your personal relation also to Laura?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I remember that I met her in 1990, of course in Murano, in a furnace. She was working for the family company EOS, and from that time on, we have been working together for the first 25 years, not really deeper. I mean, I was using to bring to her studio all my best collectors and museums curators, people from foundations, and we were visiting her studio together, and I was selling her pieces, which is my work. But many years after, and now I complain that it happened so late, in 2014, everything changed between us, because we decided together, of course, to work much deeper together. It means that I started to represent her in Venice and in Italy and in Europe, let's say, because she was really tired to have people going to her studio. She was always telling me, it's not my job, I don't want to do it. And I was not believing in that before. So that was my fault, big fault. Luckily, it happened in 2014, and soon we did an exhibition together, and it was a great experience for me, because I could be with her. We set up the show, and at the end, she said, you will see some pictures. At the end, she said, I don't need to come to set up my show with you. Actually, it was not me, it was my husband, who is an architect, that helped her to put the pieces in the right way, in the right position. But the other thing, I told to her, I do want only the new pieces. I don't need any other pieces that people knows. And those pieces were the sleeves, you would see them.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of a training of pushing her to do, not to be scared about market.
And about the market.
Yes, I mean, she has always been very determined. She has never been, she didn't need my help on being creative, but just like a younger sister, I was telling her, don't worry, go ahead. And I told her till the very end. We ended up to organize an exhibition in a museum in France that we were not able to realize. And I remember her writing me, should I have to put some old pieces just to introduce my work? And I said, no, no. And so those 5 years together have been really very intensive. That about our work. By the way, in those years, and particularly the last year and a half, with Elizabeth, and she will tell you about, we worked, the three of us, with our assistants, with my husband, with all our teams. We worked together a lot, and it became really a friendshipness. Much stronger than I could think. And it came out a strong woman, able to manage about, I don't find it, about money, about economy, sorry, her economy, because she was coming from a company, from the factory, a big factory. And she was really able to manage it. And she was able to travel a lot, to find the time to travel, so to keep culture from Japan, from India. I knew that she bought a piece of land in Sri Lanka. Fantastic, really fantastic, because she wanted to move there. And then we talk about the last project of her in Sicily, and I was always worried about it, and I was always saying, are you sure we are selling enough for doing it? And she never answered me, but she could manage it. So it was really something special, really something special, yeah.
Thank you, Caterina, for this first statement. I think for the ones who maybe are not so familiar with Laura's career, we should quickly summarize the steps that she took. She was, as I said, born in 1955 into the Venini family, and she and her brother were really raised within the furnace, so to say, and of course they started experimenting from a very early age. Their father, Ludovico, married the second daughter of Paolo Venini, and Laura went to New York after her studies and started to attend the School of Visual Arts there, which led her into graphic design. For some time, she was working for Vignelli Associates at that time. And then she came back and worked for Venini between 1976 and 1985. And this year 85 was this crucial year of the takeover of Venini, which led to the buyout of the family, and the foundation of EOS with Ludovico as head of this firm. And Rosa, maybe you would, could you maybe comment on that, because you are really
something. I am not an art critic, so I am an historian, and I like very much to understand what was, where the links, the education of people when they, before they became well-known artists. I met Laura, I knew Laura from the beginning, but we became a little closer in the worst period of her life, when the EOS, the second firm of the family, closed, and she was thinking what to do of herself. So I remember that she had a few friends. One of them was Massimo Micheluzzi, and he was trying to push her to design new pieces. And I wrote some articles, but I understood how difficult it was for a girl, because I think her as a girl. It was in the 90s, so she was born in 55, not a girl, yeah, but she looked as a girl, to change completely her sure life. She had a sure life in the Venini, then the family started a new glassworks, and then the new glassworks stopped. So, what to do with her life? I felt she was looking for a new life, a new line, a new word where to be creative. So she began to make Marina glasses. Yeah. But what is interesting for me is not the last works of art that are well known, and Caterina Tognon and other people know and can write important papers about this period, but her training, that is very interesting. Mm-hmm. I love to understand. So the father was the first person that influenced her life, creative life. Yeah. Ludovico has never been understood very well. He was a wonderful person. I had the privilege to know him. He the Venini name was over him. He couldn't really to be himself, but he designed some of the most successful chandeliers of the firm. He was a very talented, much talented man, and I think that Laura, as I understood, had a special relationship with him. So Ludovico was the first. Then, and this is the same for Alessandro. Then Alessandro and Laura lives divided. She went to New York, the Vignelli studio, and so on. And I think that some of the first, she was a designer at first, not an artist. So she designed some of the most successful pieces for the Venini glassworks. And
Yeah.
the numeri, I think,
Yeah,
was.
it's the first. We're going to see it in
I
a
would
minute.
like to have
Yeah.
that piece.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have seen it
I
today
am
on our...
a glass scholar, but I would not like to have so many pieces, but that is for me one of the best, because she's the meeting of graphic design and glass. Then certainly she met, she was influenced by Tapio Virkala. The series Quattro Stagioni, 4 Seasons, is certainly influenced by Tapio Virkala. And so on. She was talented, but she had also the chance to meet the best designers in the period. There is someone who has the chance to meet the best designers, and he does nothing. So you need to have the talent, but also sometimes the person you meet can change your life.
Yeah.
So I would like, but it is too early to write the story of Laura.
I think this has to be done, but we
still
are
shocked by her death. So in the future, maybe we shall be able to write it. But it is a long story that is the combination of an earlier story and a second story.
Yeah, we will talk about this.
And the hand of Eos, the family second factory, pushed her to make more.
Yeah, thank you, Rosa.
But I think that art critics are able to tell better about the second part of her life. But we all think about her with much love.
Yeah, that's important. Thank you. I think this role of Ludovico, her father, being also a philosopher, is very important for Laura's career.
It was wonderful.
Because,
Nobody emphasized his role.
Yeah, and because I think he has led his both children on this way into a new view of glass being something that you could also express cosmographic ideas and everything on it. Good example are these pictures that we are seeing here at the moment. These are the pictures that were taken from the 2016 installation that followed upon the exhibition in Vienna. It was the installation that they did for Yorkshire Sculpture Park in the chapel, which I had the chance to see upon the opening and during the installation time with both of them. We attended with Pasquale Gagliardi, and also Elena was there with us this evening. And I think this epitomizes very well what Laura tried to achieve and how they both could work with a room. And work with a room, this gives me the word to bring in Elizabeth. And Elizabeth, I would like to ask you about your personal view of Laura's work, and maybe you can tell us a little bit how you got in contact with Laura.
Yes. About 35 years ago, I met first Alexandre Vakevich, his husband.
Yeah.
And Laura was there, and I immediately loved her sculptures.
Mm-hmm.
I was very impressed, and she inspired me to start collecting contemporary glass. And among a lot of things she has done for me, she do a beautiful sculpture in bronze, glass, and wax. And we always love, because I said, oh, it's very minimalist. And
maybe we have shown it in Vetrino
Yes. Yes.
in 2006
yes,
here,
yes,
because I
Yes.
got 3 pieces by
Yes.
Laura
Yes.
in different materials.
yes,
Is it
absolutely.
possible?
Yes, it is. And we love, because I said, oh, you are so always chic, minimalist, and perhaps it's a very contemporary piece, because if there is too much sun, the wax will disappear. And after she introduced me to her brother, Alessandro, and I commissioned to Alessandro a very big piece, 4 piece of 4 meter, very minimalist as well. And we continue our collaboration, and I asked him all a wall in Paris around the chimney. And it was always a great effervescence. And we make always phantasm about big projects. Some we made them, some not. To invent a house in glass or to, And Laura had a very minimalist attitude in life in general and in art in particular. And she was looking for essential sobriety, simplicity.
Yeah.
She was always so chic, you know.
Also, how
And
she dressed.
how she dressed, and
Yes.
we always has done a lot of shopping together, and and love so much about it, and yes, you could feel all that in the way she dressed, and in his house as well, and in his studio. I really liked in this atmosphere, very concentrated on the minimalist, and more is less, like Donald Judd with a great sensuality in supplement.
And I think this approach, was developed because of this crisis of EOS, and because she had to look for a new way, and this was the way
It was a terrible period.
Yeah, it was but I think it was also an important period for both of them, for Alessandro as for Laura, and this led them to the US, and to searching for a new way in their career that led them away from this still design-oriented collaboration with their father, and also after the death of their father.
And I want also to tell something that is, it is a conversation.
Yes.
So she worked a lot in the EOS, which was the second firm of the family, which lasted very little. And they had the luck to collaborate with the master Lino Tagliapietra. And he told, Lino is not a scholarship, but is very intelligent. And he
He's
told
the monument of Venetian glassmaking.
yes,
Still
but
is.
no, it is not a monument as an artist of glass, but a man who understands people, very intelligent. He told me that time, Laura is too much using traditional techniques like filigrana, Marina, and so on. She is able to make more. And this is a master who uses generally all these techniques. But he is able to understand people.
This is important.
And I remember this because then I understood what he meant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Also, no, this is what we are here for this evening, to commemorate Laura. And I think this step to the US, to working in Tacoma, working with urban glass in New York, opened somehow the ways for both of them, for Laura and for Alessandro. And maybe if I am able, or if I have the help, thank you, we can hear Laura herself.
You see on the
This
wall
is
there's
the
a
interview
picture
that
of,
we did in 2015.
this is our grandfather, Paolo Venini, who he was in the First World War. He was sent to Venice, and in the area around Venice. And he went to Venice, and the story in the family is that he loved the place, and he thought, what can I do to be able to live in Venice? And he was a lawyer, and with his young wife, he moved to Venice, and he opened up a glass factory.
So Laura is with us.
So the
today.
story is that our grandfather was managing the company from the beginning, 1921, until his death, 1959. And after that, our father, who was married to one of the two daughters of Paolo Venini, took the place of our grandfather. So when we were born, our father was managing the company, and we grew up in the factory. So in a way, we both wanted to, do work with different materials. We wanted to do different things, but we were continuously attracted by this magnet, which was this fantastic factory, which had the best hands, the best glass blowers, the best colors, the best everything. So it was a
Ecco Laura.
yeah. This is.
Questo è il design, e secondo me, forse l'ha detto anche lei, ha influenzato molto. It is an influence
Ecco Laura.
by
Yeah,
the
this is my
graphic
first piece when.
Vignelli studio.
Yeah. Here Laura comments on her first piece that we were just talking about.
Sorry.
No problem.
I was working at Venini, and this is 1975, and it's a Marina Plate. Marina is a very ancient technique. Before they discovered how to blow glass, they used to melt together, let's say, some glass parts, and this is the way this piece is done. The little complication is that each number is created separately. It's like a big rod of glass with a number, and then it's pulled, then it's cut in slices like a salami, and then it's composed on a plate, then it's heated up, and then it's slumped on top of a mold, and then it's ground to very, very thin. And this is this wonderful technique in which Carlos Carpa made wonderful pieces, and also our father. And so my first piece was a Marina piece.
Was not a blown piece.
It was not a blown piece, no.
I think this is interesting and important because Laura really starts out from a Venetian tradition that is not the blowing, but the combination of the Marina, and she puts in her graphic knowledge. This is, I think, interesting. Here we have the first piece, the dish in some pictures, and this is comments very well to that what you said, Rosa. And this was her start, but very soon she was taken away. Sorry. Thank you.
This piece, for example, is made, it's a team of 10 people that work together. And from beginning to end, they each know their exact action in the 2 hours. It's because the space is small and they don't have to bump into each other. They have to keep the hot the glass hot all the time. So there's people just with torches keeping the glass hot. And when you go to a limit of dimension, this is the limit of dimension that you can blow and you can work with. It's the interesting aspect is that you encounter accidents. And accidents can be very inspiring and very interesting. So there's a moment in which the process becomes the actor. You can't do much. You can control.
You have to grasp the opportunity in a way.
And
also.
you have and you have to. Other aspect of working like this in a team, because you're never alone when you're working in glass. You're always with a group of people, and you don't have time like we're doing now to explain things, but you have to understand, with the things like this, that what you want to do. So working with the same glass blower for a long time is very important, because you build up a language that allows you to really push the technique.
So here, Laura commented on her work in the US, and here's some pictures from the archive which is kept by Leon SDR nowadays, showing her working in the US with the team. Within the conversation that I had with Alessandro and Laura, Alessandro commented very funny on that they were a total macho team, and the glass blower looked like a bear, and then you have to imagine the relatively small and thin Laura next to them, but it seems she managed very well in getting to what she wanted from them, and this led her to this new phase in her work. And maybe Caterina, you want to say some words about this phase which somehow brought you in contact with Laura.
Do you mean about USA, her
Yeah.
working in USA? Yes. She went there, but because there was Simone Cenedese in Murano. That's otherwise, by the time she had a maestro to work with, to be used and so on, she started to think about to go to other places where they were able to blow and to try new experiences. Yeah. And so she went there, and in Tacoma they gave to her and to Alessandro the opportunity to work there for a long time, and so to build up the show in the museum there. Fantastic. And there she was able to do her books. Yeah. We will talk about her bigger than in Murano, but not because the blower are machos, but because in USA we know everything is bigger, starting from place of food, starting from houses, and simply, and I'm joking, simply the ovens are bigger, the mouth of the ovens are bigger, so she was able to do incredible pieces there. But they were, she invented them in Murano, she did them in Murano first, and then she was capable to go abroad and be related with other blowers.
The first experience was
always in Murano.
Yeah.
Yes,
and then she developed the idea abroad.
And it happened with these leaves I was talking about. They were done in the Cenedese factory with Simone first, And then she went to Bohemia, which is another
But
step.
my idea is that in Murano she made more precious materials with the inclusion of other of metals and so on. And
Yes,
it did
yes.
not happen so frequently when she
Abroad.
went abroad.
I
I don't know because
No,
it
it's
is
absolutely
material I know
it's
less.
absolutely true. The flags, I mean the
Because
Incalmo
I love
pieces.
a lot
I mean,
the inclusions of a network, metal network of leaves of metals
Yes,
in the wall of the, and these of the vase, the books, how do we want to call them, and this effect was achieved in Murano with
I remember.
Simone, who was has the traditional skills of Murano blowers. Then she simplified the material, but she could make bigger things, more easy.
I think it was also a
Easier
question
to be,
of costs. that
to
was-
be
yeah.
perceived as culture.
Yeah. And I remember Laura once said to me, Venice was the color and the US was the size. And I think this
Okay,
puts it very well.
I agree with
how,
you, and also
she-
Bohemia,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah, also Bohemia then in the close one.
Cioè,
And
the-
Elizabeth, this was the time that when,
To buy a big oven for in Murano.
Yeah.
You remember
yeah,
she was dreaming
Dreaming about
to
that,
do that
yeah,
and to
yeah.
continue to work in Murano
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
very big
yeah,
piece.
yeah. So here we see these big pieces that she did and the colors that she developed in this. And I think color is an important thing and question for us to be aware of the development that Laura took, and she comments herself on that.
Questo è tuo?
So the first, the first pieces that I made after Benini, in which I started to work with galleries, I made these big bottles and big bowls, and they were made by overlaying many colors, and they would become, they would have, in the middle, they would have a layer of white opaque glass, and they would become completely opaque. They would become like ceramics in a way, but still you could see, it was like a vitrification that you get on certain porcelains. You could see the colors on the surface. And so they had a different color inside and outside. And this was on my way to containers that don't contain anything. This was the last step.
Here you see these pieces that Laura just talked about, and her version of this overlay technique that she brings in a new form and in a new size, one could say. Yeah. And I think an important impression for her was were the exhibitions in Tokyo and Kyoto that she was able to do. We see a picture here from the exhibition she did in Kyoto, and I think this Eastern approach to art was very important for her development in the simplification and also in this separation of materials and colors that you can see in her later works, which led to this important piece in her work, the famous library that Laura commented on, that she had put together the colors and experiments of 15 years into it when we were talking about it while installing in Vienna in 2015. And Elizabeth, maybe I would like to ask you. You were on close relations with Laura at that time. How did you experience these steps that Laura took in the years after 2010?
She used to talk a lot about colors, even if she met crystal. Yeah. And I remember that when she stopped to work for Venene, there was no more beautiful color in this factory, because she had something. I think she had something so special for the colors.
But I told to Caterina, this kind of shelf remembers to me the incredible room of the Orsoni glassworks, where they have the samples of enamel colors for mosaics. Yeah. That is a wonderful sight.
Yeah.
Maybe she saw that.
It could be very well possible. It's kept in the Museo Vitraio today, isn't it?
No, it is in the gate of Venice, in this extraordinary glassworks. Yeah. But it remembers to me the same thing. All the samples of colors in a shelf, like books. Maybe she saw it. I don't know.
And we have a last comment.
Many ideas looking again her work.
We have a last comment by Laura in a video where she comments on these other important groups.
Well, this is how the story... Well, this is how the story of these pieces started, because these pieces that I call the heads, I was... well, let's say that I'm always interested about a little story. So this was an exhibit I saw in Paris, and it was at the Musée Czernuski, which is a museum specializing in Asian Oriental art. And they had an exhibition of only heads of Buddha. And they came from China, and they had found them in the northeast part of China. And they had dug up, and they only found the heads, because the moment in which they had to destroy all the idols and all the gods, they had destroyed the bodies, but they couldn't destroy the heads, and because it's such a powerful symbol, and so they just put them under earth. So of all these Buddhas, only the heads were left, and the exhibit was quite striking. So I came back and I did. This is another source of inspiration, is Odilon Redon, who makes so many heads in his paintings. And of course, this is a famous Saint John the Baptist, and all the people that were beheaded is another inspiration for the heads. This is a shrine in India. So all this to say that the story started with the Buddhas, and so first heads that I made were Buddha heads, stylized. And then from there on, since it's always the materials that tells you while you're working what to do, when you work with solid glass, which is the case here, it's not blown, but solid glass, whenever you touch it with a tool, with a knife or with a stick or with a tube, like I did in some of them, the material moves, and then you see a wonderful shape, and you just capture it. So they moved from heads, they went into being informal stones or whatever. So these are a few pictures of the places where we work. This is Czech Republic, this is Novi Bor, Ajeto factory, and where I'm doing my project now. I blow some mold blown pieces, and then I do a secondary work on them. I put them in kilns, and I let the heat, I slump them, which means that I do the same process, but I let the heat and the gravity do it. So this is the factory.
I think this portion made it very clear that Laura's work was based also on a spiritual basis and on her very deep understanding and inspiration that she took also from Eastern spiritual ideas. And on the other hand, she commented on these late works. Here we see some of the heads. And this led her also to these big slumped pieces, which in the end had a next step. And maybe, Caterina, because you were working on this very closely, maybe you would like to comment on the sleeves that we see here, the first example.
Doing new sleeves. Maybe we can see more.
Yeah.
This is the show, the exhibition in my gallery, and where there are some made in Murano, and these ones in particular, and others made in Czech Republic. But the show was focused on the ones in Murano. Then she went in Czech Republic in Novi Bor. And started to blow these cylinders, and incredible how the colors were different, like to be really the north of the world, and so brown, greenish, gray colors, and while in Murano they were white or red or blue.
Yeah, very much influenced also by the
really an incredible
region.
difference. So she did these new leaves, but then from them, because she met a glass technician, the name is Zvaka. She slowly, through the years, she invented this way to slump the cylinder in a second time. I mean, to blow the cylinder, to cut them, and then to put in a mold, as you see, and into the oven and let them to squash. And this is the beginning of, at the very beginning, they were little pieces like this. And at the very end, you know Elizabeth, they were almost 1.5 meters tall, almost like me, and very large, made of many cylinders together. Yeah. So she did an incredible work. Here they are only 2 cylinders, but sometimes she puts 3 and 4. And focused on the large size and less focused in colors. Anyway, in Czech Republic, she found a way to do really something new. While in USA, she did what she was doing in Murano in a larger size. In Czech Republic, let's say because she founded this technician, which is an engineer of glass. Yes. She really invented a new technique of working, and the result is incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. We never. I remember when I saw the first of those pieces, and actually we never thought that it would be nobody was able to sell one of them.
Yeah.
Because they were really experimental pieces. They remember me, the American artists in the 70s. They remember me a little bit Mary Schaffer, or Tutsinski too,
Yeah.
when they were making experiments only with crystal mainly.
Yeah.
Just to try and to find new opportunity on working with hot glass.
Very conceptual also.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the fact that coming from the Venetian techniques, the Murrine, the filigrane, and the incalmo, and so on, and at the end of a long career, starting to experiment is incredible.
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
Yeah.
I mean,
And these late pieces, Elizabeth,
Yeah,
you
here they
took
are.
the opportunity.
And all the lamettes she made in Czechoslovakia, you see when you turn around, all the colors she used to have one color. For example, a violet piece, when you look on the side, you see there she put green, yellow, and on the little lamette, you see in front of all the colors, you know.
Yeah. And Elizabeth,
Pink
you
with
did the
oranges.
last exhibition with Laura, and
Yes,
we see
we did
pictures
the
of
last
it here.
exhibition with Caterina in Palazzo Barbaro. Yes.
Yeah.
with these giant pieces.
And I had the chance to talk and to see Laura every day.
Yeah. I think this is a good final statement, and I thank you for your attention. We are open to questions from our audience, and from also on the internet, as I'm told. Maybe just a comment, the interview that you saw clips out of during this evening, I did in 2015 with Laura and Alessandro on the occasion of the Santillana exhibition that we had in Vienna. I've handed it in to Camilla, who introduced us, and I would be very happy if it could be kept here in the archive of the Venice Glass Week as a remembrance of this very intense collaboration that I could have for at least some years with Laura and Alessandro. So we are open to questions if there are any. If not, I thank my, maybe it's still too difficult to talk about it. It's not so long ago, and there is a question. Yes, please. There is a microphone.
Hello. I am speaking as a complete ignoramus about Laura de Santillana, but an observer of the art world. And I wondered whether, for example, MoMA has examples of her work, and whether it puts it in the section of fine art, or in the section, if it has any, or in the section of design.
Maybe Caterina can answer that.
This is a good question. the two cover, yeah.
What is fine art? What is design? Do you prefer a bad painting or a wonderful piece of furniture?
Mm-hmm.
That is, I don't have I don't know what is the answer, but it is in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So, Caterina
No,
will be able to...
It was in USA since the 90s that they started to discuss about it, and they really tried to put down the boundary between fine art and applied art, and they succeeded actually. Let's say that the first museum that put all the arts together was the one in Vienna, the Museum of Applied Art in Vienna, that did installation. Sorry, maybe I'm wrong, but as long as I know, and I was there studying for my thesis of university, and it was incredible. They put all the arts on view together. And after Vienna, it went to Prague and so on. But in the meantime, in USA, in very important museum like in Pittsburgh or in very important museum, they started to put furniture with glass, with wood, with textile, with paintings, with graphic design, and so on. But let's say that still, in particular in Italy, unfortunately, and this is something that we have to change, still in most part of the world, the things are split out, talking about museums. And yeah,
I think in this way of defining this borderlessness between what we define as design or decorative arts and arts, Laura and Alessandro have been kind of trailblazers, because I know, I'm not so sure if her pieces are represented in the MoMA, but I can say, because I saw it, they're very prominently represented in the new wing of the Corning Museum of Glass, which is the best glass museum in the world.
Yes.
They've opened this new wing in 2010, which is dedicated to art glass, and there Laura and Alessandro are very prominently present, because I think this is one of their achievements, that they paved the way to this new modern. And as a Viennese, I must say, for me it's not so modern, because the Viennese already, the secessionists in 1900 already said, if you don't like our pictures, why don't take a look at the wine glasses that we design? And I think this is a good way of looking at it, and I think this is what Laura and Alessandro also lived in their artistic career, and that made it so, made them and their approach so close to me. So maybe may I ask you three for a quick final statement before we will close the session, before everybody wants to have a glass of wine, maybe.
My statement is very simple. I knew Laura. I appreciated her. She was a wonderful person. She had a long story as a designer, and also we have to study better her life before her change. She was so strong, a woman, to live a very difficult period. I met her very well in that period. Before, also she found a man who helped her in the life, and she had to afford a second life that brought her to be an artist.
Yeah, thank you.
But in any case, I don't know what is the difference between a good design.
Yeah. You should come to Vienna.
But this is my problem, my own problem.
Caterina, may I ask you for?
What she was dreaming was to invent or to build up a new color, and of course that was in Murano. So Simone, we have something to work about. There was something that in the last 2 or 3 years was always telling me, let's do a project that I would love to create a new color.
Posso dire una cosa in italiano?
Sì.
Tutti i maestri che lavorano con i disegni, gli artisti, tendono a copiare quello che gli artisti propongono. Non è mai successo con Simone Cenedese, che è stato di una correttezza e di un'onestà straordinarie. Lui ha lavorato per Laura e il suo lavoro personale è stato sempre completamente diverso. Quindi io credo che per Laura è stato un incontro molto utile. Lo dico in italiano perché voglio confrontarmi con questo maestro bravissimo che è Simone. È vero?
I think this collaboration is crucial for Laura's work. Elizabeth, may I?
Italiano, quindi
Sì, certo.
condividi.
Elizabeth, may I ask you for
Elizabeth.
your words?
Sorry,
No, tell me.
For interventing.
No.
May I ask you for a last statement, Elizabeth, on Laura? No. So,
No, it was a great friend, and it's all.
yeah. So I hope Laura has heard what we were talking about this evening from somewhere. And as we saw, the path that we are on of understanding her work and working on the achievements that she has definitely made for the modern art class is only just beginning. Luckily, her heir, Leon, Alessandro's son, is with us this evening, and he has made himself on the way of working on the archive, and we are all dedicated to support him in the coming years to show Laura's work, to work on Laura's work, and to commemorate her work. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a nice evening.